Time now for our PIX panel, and there's quite a bit to talk about. Joining me this week is senior New York editor for Politico, Sally Goldberg, and professor at the University of Mount St. Vincent, J.C. Polanco. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Busy week after a number of busy weeks. Let's get into it with this business about the interim police commissioner. A lot of reporting that he is going to resign imminently, and that the mayor is looking at DSNY Commissioner Tisch, and also looking at a former police figure, Benjamin Tucker. Sally, what is the latest? What are you hearing?
So as of yesterday, actually, my colleague Mike Artland reported that Donlin is expected to step down this week or very soon. He was sort of, as I understand it, always expected to be an interim commissioner. And of course, shortly after Adams named him, to kind of like steady the ship after the former commissioner resigned.
It became unsteady.
It became unsteady. He was raided because of something unrelated to all the other raids going on. And that brings us to this week, where apparently he's leaving, and the mayor, we're hearing, is looking at DSNY Sanitation Commissioner Jesse Tisch, who had worked in the police department as a civilian in a high-ranking technology-focused job, and Benjamin Tucker. I think my read on it, from what I hear from sources, is that Tisch has an edge in that she's, very connected to outside people who are wealthy and powerful. She has like a lot of technology experience within the police department. The mayor really values technology. She runs a major uniform agency. She's definitely one of his most prominent commissioners, seen as an innovator. But Benjamin Tucker is much more steeped in the culture of NYPD, and he was on the force, and so there is a familiarity, and uniform people tend to, just kind of favor other uniform people.
JC, politically, how important is this for the mayor to get right? Because this is arguably the most high-profile city official after the mayor himself. So how important is getting this one right?
It is more important than ever, considering the disarray that we're under right now. We just had a police commissioner resign, and then another one who's been here literally for 2 weeks. And it's just incredible to see that we're now looking at him also on the way out. The police department needs stability. And right now, a lot of police officers are concerned about what's happening at the top. To your point, Sally, the question becomes, yes, I know she's connected and I know she's very smart and the whole nine, but are police officers going to fall in line? Are they going to feel comfortable with this? And the issue is that loyalty is not transferable. And as you mentioned, loyalty is very important to the uniformed agency. So I wonder how this is going to play out. As far as the mayor's concerned, I could see him wanting someone outside of politics, outside of the uniformed NYPD sector, coming in, almost like this is my ode to New York City's non-police force of picking someone outside of the box, and it may be a smart thing for him to do.
And the question is also, who can control the NYPD? I mean, from what we're hearing, there's a lot of allegations of corruption that have gone on within the NYPD, and
former Deputy Mayor Phil Banks, former Commissioner Caban. I mean, there are other
senior advisor Tim Pearson, who was very involved in NYPD, who was pushed out. So it's like, who actually is going to be able to control this at such a time of chaos?
That's why thinking outside the box. I'm sorry. That's why thinking outside the box with someone like this may make sense.
Let's keep this moving, though, because the first deputy mayor made clear we're not going to have anything for a couple of days on this. What we do know is that former Governor Andrew Cuomo is thinking about running. There was a sympathetic essay in the New York Times that said maybe this works. A Marist poll showed that it wasn't out of the question. JC? Could this happen?
It could happen. Look, the mayor and former Governor Cuomo share the same voters. These are centrist Democratic voters from the outer boroughs, homeowners. They also share something in common, union support. So they have that walking in there. Now, there is going to be some pushback to Governor Cuomo. We know that he resigned the governorship, and we know he did so because of allegations that were made in a report. That's a fact. And that's something that I think the New York City media is going to beat him up on. How do you confront that early on? How do you come out now and say, listen, I resigned because I thought it was too much of a distraction. New York had to recover from COVID. Maybe I regret resigning, but be forceful about the fact that you did not commit the things that were in that report. That's going to be critical.
Sally, does he have a lane if Mayor Adams is still in this, or is this really a play for if, for whatever reason, the mayor is forced to resign or forced out by the governor?
Well, there is a lane that one of them will occupy, and I think it depends on how damaged Adams is. I mean, as JC said, they both share strong support with Black and Latino voters and more moderate voters, and there's obviously overlap there. I think there's also going to be a real hunger for like someone who can just kind of steady things, a strong manager, and so Cuomo will make that case for himself. His case is harder if Adams is in the race because they share similar voters. I think his best case is a special election. If Adams were to step down and there were a special, it would be nonpartisan, so not just Democrats.
And it'd be quick, too. He'd have high name ID, he's got money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if he can't transfer, so that's
true,
a question.
But he has a donor list.
Virtually universal name ID,
Yeah.
a donor list, and also, importantly, in a nonpartisan election, you get Republicans and independents. I think he would do well with independents.
Let's move on to one of the major areas of crises that the current mayor is facing, any next mayor would need to face. That is the migrant crisis.
Yeah.
Mayor Adams announced that he's turning the corner on the migrant crisis and that he's closing one of the major sort of headaches for him, this Randall's Island facility for 3,000 people. Sally, how soon can that happen, and will that be a benefit politically to the mayor, and will it help him get a handle on this crisis?
I mean, I think the key for him is to show, just kind of in general, to show leadership right now is so important, to show that he's like governing effectively. And so the optics of closing a center, if those people have somewhere to go, is helpful to him. The problem is that like he doesn't have control over federal money that he's getting, and he doesn't have control over the influx. So it might be slowing down, but I don't, it's not really it's not in his hands how many people are coming in and how much money he has to kind of tend to them.
Let's move through some topics more quickly. JC, I'm coming to you. I know you want to get in here. Let me focus you though on former President Trump, who announced he's rallying at Madison Square Garden just days before the election. Is he crazy like a fox? I mean, is he going to win New York? Does he just know the House seats are important?
I don't know. I think fox are pretty nice animals. So I wouldn't say I'm going to compare him to a fox, but I think it's going to be very interesting. I think it's going to be a madhouse. Because, a lot of New Yorkers, and especially my friends, may not want to agree. This guy has a lot of support in New York City.
Absolutely.
I think he's going to pack the House. And I think this is a Trumpy thing to do, to come into the heart of where you're not going to get maybe 15% of the vote and still come and pack the House. Now, I think that this is creating an environment where there are a lot of Democrats. I'm not a Trump supporter. Everybody who's watched your show knows this. I'm not a Trump supporter by any means, but I think calling and making comparisons to the events from the Nazis that they had in Madison Square Garden is a little far-fetched. I would reserve calling things out Nazi to the worst case scenarios. This is not it. This is somebody who is a provocateur coming into New York City after saying some very outlandish things against the Haitian community. I think we're going to see a lot of protests, but I think this is a smart play on his part because this is the New York City media and the whole world's going to talk about this.
Sally, last word, about 30 seconds. Any thoughts on this Trump rally coming up?
No, I mean, I totally agree that it's like when you come to New York, it's not just votes. It's fundraising, it's media, and it's where he's comfortable. He's a New Yorker. So I think it's actually a smart play, even though it's not in play electorally.
Sally, JC, thank you both for being here. We really do appreciate you taking some time. So much to cover this week. There'll be so much more to cover next week. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the balance of power in the House, we were just talking about this a little bit, could come down to New York. This past week, I hosted a debate for one of those most important contests in New York 18, Pat Ryan versus Allison Esposito. The big takeaways and what this means for the home stretch of the campaign. That's coming up next.